Hello, YouTube and Twitter and Facebook
Everybody.
or wherever you're watching this.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I am Brian Rundle, and this is my good friend Lana Quest. And we are the co hosts of Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Guess
Yeah.
who's the black one?
Which, can you guess? See if you can guess which one's the white one.
Well, with your lighting, maybe a little hard.
Well, before we started, I think it would have been very obvious in my initial lighting. But I don't know what the hell is going on with the lighting. I even bought this brand new ring light that I'm not even using right now because it just I wasn't prepared. In fact, all my clips and everything, I literally just got these in right before you came on.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I usually have those on there a lot earlier, but we're set. Lana.
The dog. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. If first of all, if you're watching this and you don't love doggies, then do not watch this anymore because I love doggies and doggies can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We had there's so many different clips that I want to download, so many different things to talk about that I don't even know where to begin. I wrote down, so many different topics. And I'm always leaving it up to Lana. If we're running long or we need to cut it short, you just let me know. But there's a lot to cover. So let's get right into it. I mean, we could just start real quick with the news from last week is that the former disgraced president, Donald Trump, it's so funny. He cannot keep his mouth closed. He just cannot shut the fuck up. And he lives in this bubble of a world that he believes he can say and do whatever he wants. And there are no consequences. But for the first time, or actually the second time, he has faced consequences. Now, the first time he may not have cared as much because the $5 million that he lost in a sexual assault case in which he was found guilty. There's no other way to put it. He was found guilty for sexual assault and had to pay E. Jean Carroll $5 million. Now, that may not be that big of a deal to Donald Trump because all he did was milk a bunch of his donors. Right. And I'm sure easily got that money to pay. There is a 0% chance that money came out of his pocket.
Right.
And Lana, I think you may know this better than me. I think that money right now, I don't know if it went directly to her because there might be some sort of, I don't know if there's an appeal or not, but it sits in an escrow account, I believe.
Right. Well, that was, when did she get $5 million? I mean, she could have already gotten that. How many months?
Maybe. And that was only it felt like a month ago.
I know. That's true.
And then he runs his mouth. And next thing you know, I see the big news that came out last week is that he now owes her an additional $83 million.
What an idiot. But when you are confident that it's not going to be your money, you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But he just doesn't care. He's probably like, just raise it. Super PAC pays my attorney fees and I'll just raise the rest.
I think at some point he's going to have to care, though, because there's almost so much money you can raise and you need some of that for a presidential run that he's trying to make. But again, it's beyond comprehension, the mental status of this guy who just all he needed to do was just not say another word about E. Jean Carroll.
Right.
And he's just on to the next trial. But now an additional $83 million is added to his plate. He's about to be hit again very shortly, possibly tomorrow. In fact, keep your phone out. We might be seeing breaking news tonight that New York is going to come up with their settlement for him frauding the city and the state. And that should be upwards of $350 million.
And his supporters just don't see any of it. Like, it's very strange to me, right? Like, all of this happens and it's just like, it just goes over their head. Like, if that was Kamala or Biden or Obama, I would be like, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Maybe like some little things you could try to excuse, but like after a while, you're like, nah, this is a lot. It's like all of this is just not a coincidence. This is crazy.
Crazy is definitely a word, and I don't understand it, but guys like him they're eventually going to get what they deserve, and it's a shame sometimes that it takes so long for something like this to happen. I don't know how familiar you are with a case that just came out recently as well, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But are you familiar with Vince McMahon,
The wrestling guy.
the wrestling guy?
Well, he's not the wrestling guy, but on the
Yeah, well, he is. I mean, if you hear the word Vince McMahon, you think wrestling because he
right,
was the king of professional wrestling.
right.
He turned what was a business that was made very little money for
Mhm,
professional wrestlers all across the country into this worldwide phenomenon.
mhm.
And recently, there was accusation of him within the company that he was sex trafficking and sexually assaulting a young lady that he had hired. I am absolutely not going to get into a lot of the lurid details of it because it is really, really disgusting. But people like Vince McMahon and Donald Trump, these
Right.
guys are really almost similar. Vince McMahon is the same guy. He was raised kind of a little punk. He was sent to military school just like Donald Trump. And they
Mhm.
get to these power positions and think they can do and say whatever they want. But this guy, again, is in his mid 70s, maybe close to 80. And finally,
Right,
for years, we
right,
knew about stuff like this about him. And it's
right.
just being, this time, they're saying this time, it could be the end. In fact, he had to resign from his position. But I found it, I don't know if you read any of the details of it, but
No.
it's disgusting. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up, because there are similarities to Donald Trump and Vince McMahon. But I want to ask you, Lana, as a woman, because I've heard, and not that you have the definitive answer to this, or
Mhm.
but you may be able to provide some insight because there are details of the story that said that she got a job with Vince McMahon in the WWE and for years was forced to have sex with him and other wrestlers and other people in the company. There was photos shown of her. There was just really bad. I mean, there's some of the things in there I started reading and I got disgusted. But you also hear a lot of dudes and people saying, why did she stay there if it was so bad? Why did she stay there if it was so awful? And, you know, first of all, let's say we agree with that premise. The fact that Vince McMahon is accused of doing what he did, and if he did it, it doesn't matter whether she stayed there or not. But
Right.
what do you say to somebody that says, well, if it was that bad, why did she stay there? And
Well,
by the way, she was getting paid lots of money.
how old was she? Was she
I
younger,
want
like in her 20s or
Yeah,
something?
her parents had just died, and she was very vulnerable at the time,
Right.
and, he hired her and promised her all these things, and, you know, and I find it funny too from, people who also on the other side seem to do anything another dude tells them to do, like Donald Trump, that are in these sort of
Right.
camps
Right. Right.
that bow down. But, I get irritated when I see that, it's just like it's the victim shaming rather than the
I mean,
guy
and
who
some
actually
women
did.
do it, and some women do it as well. Like they victim shame, and it's like it's the same as staying in an abusive relationship or staying married to an abusive husband. Like we really don't know the inner workings of whatever that relationship was. We don't know if she actually loved him. He was in a position of power. That's why they say people in the position of power at the workplace should never sleep with their
Yeah.
subordinates
Mhm.
because you are in a position of power. So that means that, that person may do things that they really don't want to do because they feel like they have to do it because you're their boss. Like
Yeah.
you can't, you know what I mean? Look at R. Kelly. Like
Yeah.
those women stayed. Some, he had when they were young, but then they got to be adults and they still stayed because men like him prey on weak women. Like everyone is just not, fuck that, I'm getting out. Like everyone doesn't have that thing. And it's the same thing with E. Jean Carroll, right?
Mhm.
How they were blaming her, like, because they want rape victims to do certain things. Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you tell anyone? Why don't you act this way? And that's just not how that is. I guarantee you, I sound like Donald Trump, guarantee and probably, but like almost 100% of women have been sexually assaulted,
Yeah.
sexually abused in some type of
Harassed.
way, harassed, right? You get that all the time. You don't always tell anyone about it. Like you don't know. I was on the train and a man put his hand underneath my butt when I was in my 20s. I was just like shocked. I sat there and then got up and just looked at him because today I would probably fuck him up or
Yeah.
yell, but like being in my 20s, I didn't know how to react to it. I just got up and left. I was sexually assaulted. Like
Yep.
the man put his hands on me, right? Like so you can't, it's just I hate when people do that. Like
I do too. I'm not a fan, and again too from men. And I've said it before. When I'm not in the position of somebody that traditionally, I hate to use the word traditionally because it sounds like it's a celebratory thing, but
true.
traditionally, has things that are grievances against them, whether they, their color, their gender, their, whatever the case is. I hate opining on it as if I have gone through it myself. It's easy for me as a guy to go, I wish Vince McMahon tried that shit with me. I'd fuck him up. Well, yeah, I mean, but it's and it doesn't really happen the other way. You're not going to have the powerful woman that's going to come down and make you do that stuff. And I'm not saying guys can't be sexually harassed, and I'm not saying they haven't been, or, but if you look statistically,
Right.
we all know where it all comes from. And I find it really, not even pretentious. I find it abhorrent to kind of lend your opinion towards it when you've never even come close to being in a situation like that.
Right, right. Do I go? Do I stay? Look at the woman with Rudy Giuliani, right? Like what
Yeah.
he's making her do. She's either, well, why'd she do it? Like maybe she felt like she had to,
Yeah.
right? Like when someone's dangling your career and it's already tough for women
Yeah.
to get to certain places in their career. And then you have, I mean, it's just like Hollywood, right? Isn't it the thing? What do they call that thing? The couch? What's that thing called?
Yeah. The
Some
casting couch.
casting couch, right? Where like the executives, they won't give you a chance unless you sleep with them. I mean,
Yeah.
that was real. Yeah, it's easy to say, oh, well, just don't do it. Then you don't get your dream. Like sometimes it's just
Well, the thing is this though, is that make no mistake about it, whether it's the casting couch or whether it's a woman at WWE, there are certainly women strong enough who'll go, I will fuck you up if you
yeah,
even think about that shit again.
right,
But what they'll do is they'll prey on the ones who they can manipulate, and they will
right,
prey on the ones, which makes that just a heinous and horrific
right,
crime, really, is
right,
what it is.
right,
And that to me, I read that stuff and it just makes me so mad that you get so many people in this world and in this life who get away with so much stuff,
right.
and they live the lives of really the greatest lives in the world, and they get away with the most awful and terrible things.
Yeah.
And you want to always think there's a just world out there, and obviously we've been alive long enough to realize that just is not the case.
Yeah. I mean, look at Bill Cosby. Took years
Yeah.
for that to catch up. Yeah.
Absolutely. You have who's Harvey Weinstein, who
Yeah.
that was, I mean, literally during awards shows, they would make fun of how Harvey Weinstein basically sexually assaulted women. And it was like a known thing. And it's just like, Now all of a sudden he's in jail and like, oh, Harvey Weinstein. You're like, well,
Right.
you
But
know,
they do
he
like,
was sitting
cool. They're like,
amongst
oh,
you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's
yeah,
just gross. It's just, I don't know, man. The human condition sometimes really disturbs me.
yeah. It's really bad. Like I can't.
Yeah. All right. So,
Mm.
oh my gosh, I don't know which one to move on to. All right, let's do this real quick. Let's talk real quick. I always, because usually I've told you I want to start off with positive things about the president and Joe Biden. The economy again is just doing phenomenal. Another record at the with the stock market, which again, we all know that the stock market doesn't necessarily mean that the economy is booming.
Right.
However, I still hear these things, Lana, when people talk about the economy, and you hear a lot of Americans that are being interviewed saying, well, I don't feel it. I still, I'm paying a lot for medication. I'm still paying a lot for this. I don't know. And I don't know if you know, but when I hear that, I'm hearing that these are people who always had a hard time paying for their medication
Correct.
and always having a hard time
Yeah.
paying for things.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to disparage anybody
No.
that doesn't have the
No.
money to do it, but there is absolutely nothing anybody can say from an economic standpoint to tell me that the economy has not made one of the most incredible recoveries from one of the worst downfalls that we've had due to COVID. I still won't even blame it on Donald Trump. And
Right.
there's no reason to blame it on Donald Trump because I've said before, I truly believe that no matter who the president was in 2020, we would have seen everything that we are seeing now. The question is, would Donald Trump been able to recover as quickly as Joe Biden did? I personally don't think he would have.
I mean, he did leave debt, right?
Yeah,
on top
but
of
that was before the pandemic.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he left a lot of debt even before. So he takes some blame on the debt and the deficit rising. I mean, a lot because of him and his tax cuts for the rich. Again, I don't think people understand how that works. When you start cutting taxes for the people who make the most amount of money, that means the money you spend is not being paid for even more so.
Right. Right.
And that's why the
Paying
Republicans' big thing is
taxes, right.
don't spend money on shit. And that's the reason why. So because they can give their rich tax friends bigger
Right.
breaks. I mean, or
Right.
rich friends bigger tax breaks.
Right.
Crazy.
Absolutely. And I agree too. Like, there's no way Trump would have gotten us out of that because how was he going to do that? Was he going to raise taxes incrementally? Like he would have actually probably raised them too high, right? Like we would have just went into a recession. Like it would have just went.
Yeah. Well, from what I remember, I mean, the only tax raise that Joe Biden would propose, and I think he did propose, was anybody that made over $400,000. And, when you're talking about the $400,000, it's a
I
little
meant
one
interest.
and then a
I'm
little bit
sorry.
more as it goes
I meant
higher.
interest. Trump
Oh,
would have
yeah.
interest rates like way too high, too fast. Like that.
Right. He said, I think, like I said, a lot of people don't understand how it works. And I keep hearing people out there going, well, Joe Biden needs to go out there every day and explain it to him. But I'm just like, do people really go out of their way to find out what the president is saying about interest rates? And, I don't know if that's the case. It seems to me like there's a lot of information all over the place. And if you can't find it by now, so I don't know, you got to take a little bit of blame in this.
Right. And I would say not just look at your personal circumstances. I would say look at like America as a whole, how
Mhm.
it's functioning. Maybe look at gas prices, like, they are coming down. Stop playing. That groceries have come down. You complain about the price of eggs. You complain about the price of milk. Those things are down now. Like they just are. I was buying snacks for the kids the other day and I'm like, oh my God, these things are on sale again.
Yep.
Because they weren't, there was a time where they just weren't on sale. You're talking about stuff like granola bars that were almost $6. Like, so now they're back down to the normal small inflation, right? Because you do also have to remember it is 2024. So a loaf of bread is not going to be $1.99
Hmm.
anymore unless you're going to like the dollar store or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be that anymore. But we don't want it to be $8 either. So I get that.
Yeah, well, wages are matching more inflation than they were. But of course, the other thing that it just so many people either refuse to understand or refuse to acknowledge is that really the remainder, in fact, we probably would have combated inflation a lot longer ago had the corporations still not taken
That's true.
advantage. They
Yeah,
jacked up these fucking
right,
prices.
right.
They said it, we had to do it because of inflation. And they really didn't because they were making record profits. Even during the highest amount of inflation, they were making record profits. And you know what? They see inflation continues to go down and down and down. And I'm like, well, then why the fuck would we lower our prices? We're still making record profits.
Right.
So, the fact that that's just not, I wish people understood that more,
Yeah.
but they don't. And, again, you're going to have people when they're interviewed, Donald Trump was better than the economy than Joe Biden was. There's no question. And it's just like, that's so fucking frustrating to hear.
Yeah, and you're right, because it is the cost of goods, right? Like the Pampers are up so high, right? Because that's something you can complain about, like, oh my God, I'm paying so much for baby formula and Pampers, but that's not Biden. That's price gouging right
That's
there.
exactly
Like
what it is. Yeah.
yeah.
And,
So
it's one
because
of those things.
the goods are cheaper, right? Like goods are cheaper.
Yeah.
We're not waiting months and months for like chips and these things to come in so we can make stuff. We have them now.
Well, people can put in their little comments if they see this clip underneath and say, these two idiot liberals, they don't, and they'll just say and not
It's
understand. But
hard.
you idiots that are saying that, you can go, if you want to do the research, you could listen to these quarterly phone calls of these CEOs who are bragging about their record profits. It's out there in the open for you to hear and see. They legally have to do that. So,
Right.
if you take the time to really do your research instead of telling me to do my research, then maybe you would learn a thing or two and understand why inflation was high and why it's not a good idea that you're voting for a guy who's going to continue to help those people and not you, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, right? Oh, the trickle down. We give the tax cuts to the corporations and they're gonna give you your raise. So just wait for it, right? Because they're gonna save money with their tax cuts and they're gonna give it to you that you're going to get some of their bennies.
Correct.
Never
That's exactly right. And you know what? A lot of the programs, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Chips and Science Act, the Infrastructure Act, people are starting to see the benefits of these historic
right.
programs that this president has put in less than 4 years. I mean, in fact, instead of me saying it, there is a mouthpiece for the Democrats who is going to have a very, very strong chance to become the next president. And
Mhm.
that's Gavin Newsom. They are sending him all over the country now
Yeah, right,
because he
right.
is speaking for Joe Biden, and he's doing it in a manner that I feel like I personally would do too if I were in the same position. It is not this, Joe, he is direct. He is he's like waving off your ridiculousness about
Mhm.
Joe Biden. And the
Mhm.
way he does it is great. I got two clips that I want to play with
Yeah.
from Gavin Newsom about Joe Biden and the Democrats and what they're doing.
Best at because we keep crushing it. Democrats, we keep crushing it. Look at all the elections you've won, Democrats. You keep winning. You keep outperforming. It's extraordinary. Pat yourselves on the back. Our message is working. Our values are American. They're universal values. Our policies, Republicans begrudgingly celebrate and accept. I heard the governor here in his State of the State last night. And he talked about these new EV investments in his state. Really, Mr. Governor, that tried to oppose that and is sitting there with Trump? They can't even help themselves. But they're beneficiaries of all this because that's the character and decency of the Democratic Party, that we support people even if they didn't support us in the election.
That's
Yep.
if we lived in a normal world and we lived, where people understood that their governors that they vote for that they think are so great, and then they're bragging about the
Yep.
things that the Democrats did, and they don't, like I said, in a perfect world, they'd stop for a second and go, wait a minute, we voted for you, you voted against that, but that benefits us, so why would we
Right.
vote for you again?
Right.
They don't think that way. It's like,
Right.
oh, we like this guy because he's part of the libtards party, and we like that better.
So can we go back to the economy 1 second? I was looking
Yeah.
for Donald Trump's quote because
Yeah, bring that up.
the economy is doing so great that Donald Trump is trying to take credit for
Yep.
Joe Biden's economy.
It-
Where do they do that at? Whose man's is this? Who? Go get your drunk uncle. Somebody.
Did you see the reasoning? The what he
That's why I
said?
was trying to look it up so I could read it.
If you find it, you can read it. He essentially said that the investors are so excited that he's going to become the next president. That's why the stock market's doing so good, because the stock market is generally based on futures, but it's not based on an election that's going to have happen 10 months from now, that the outcome is not even close to being determined. He says because he's up by so much.
Yeah, I found it.
Good.
He said, this is all capitals. This is the Trump stock market. You did good. This is a Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win, and that will drive the market up. You did perfect.
He's so fucking. Actually, he's not crazy. He's not crazy. That's a message to the morons who will listen to that and 100% believe it.
That doesn't even make sense. How could it be Trump's economy? What the fuck? 2 days ago, he was saying, I hope it crashes because, whatever, right? It's like,
what happens if the stock market drops 1,000 points? Will he do another all caps Truth Social post?
I'm not the president. Is sleepy Joe Biden. Like,
correct.
Oh my God. Like, it's again whiplash. I don't know how they follow him. I don't know how his supporters follow him.
I was gonna say I was gonna say maybe he does. I think he still kind of believes that that's the case, but I know he knows how to talk to these people. And again, walking amongst a population of people who are adults, who went through high school at least, or maybe even some college or something, and probably not, but not understand that what he's saying is absolute and complete bullshit. And I'll guarantee you I'll run into somebody that will quote that and tell me this is the reason why this. There's no question somebody will say that to me.
Yeah, because the latest thing now, because Fox News or somebody is saying like Biden can close the border. So, because that's the answer to them not doing the immigration bill. We don't need that bill. That bill's awful. No MAGA has read the bill, but the bill's awful, and Biden should just shut the border. And I'm just like, so you don't want immigration reform? So, like, if that is true, and he shuts the border, you still don't have reform. Like, because the border is not all immigrant. Like, that's just not everything. Is not
that's one of the topics I wanted to talk about tonight was the border. I'm fucking done. I don't want to hear one more fucking Republican, a MAGA, somebody who votes Republican, somebody who is a Republican, unless there's a couple that I will actually play here in a second. But I don't say one more fucking word about the border. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. There are plans in place for the border, and we are actually first of all, let's start with Donald Trump on what he is basically telling these flying monkeys that work for him. I want you to listen, if you haven't heard it already, what his view on the border deal is.
Maybe 8 times that amount. We cannot let this happen to our country. As the leader of our party, There is zero chance I will support this horrible open borders betrayal of America. It's not going to happen.
He has no idea what's in the bill.
And I'll
None.
fight it all the way. I notice a lot of the senators are trying to say respectfully, they're blaming it on me. I said, that's okay. Please blame it on me. Please. Because they were getting ready to pass a very bad bill. And I'll tell you what, a bad bill is, I'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. A bad bill you can't have. And that's what was happening in the House.
Does he ever just say anything different? Is it just everything is exactly the same?
And they all are like, oh,
yeah,
it's
yep.
just so great.
Right. That's the perfect response. There's no other response than that. Yeah.
It's just no critical thinking. It's just no critical thinking.
Critical thinking. There's just no thinking at all.
Yeah,
Forget about the critical part.
You're right. Like this
critical is advanced.
We've heard Biden has literally said, "Oh, shut the border! God damn it! Just shut the fuck up and let's sign this bill." Like that's literally where Democrats are right now, and Democrats are like pulling their hair out because they don't want to be here, but they're like, "We'll do anything to just let's get some reform because we have to start somewhere." And Republicans are like, "Oh no, that'll make Biden look good." So
well,
fentanyl. We don't hear about that shit.
Here is a Fox News host who literally the very first sentence, she really lays that out with a, why would you even give him a victory? Which, first of all, again, I want to make clear, we're talking about the crisis at the border that Fox News and all these guys talk about every time there's a Democratic president in office. They say it is our number one issue. Joe Biden goes, okay, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do the fucking border right fucking now. And they're like, well, wait a minute. Why would you give him this? And luckily, there was a reasonable Senator James Langford, who had this response.
I give him this in an election year, the cover of this deal that, you know, critics say is still going to let a lot of people in, but he gets to take a victory lap that he's gotten something done.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going to let a bunch of people in. It's focused.
First of all, I like that. Debunks her very first question is it's going to let a lot of people in because that, you know, appeals to the idiots watching. Although this is Sunday morning. I don't know how many of those morons are up at Sunday morning watching this, but
it's on actually turning people around on it. It is interesting. Republicans 4 months ago would not give funding for Ukraine, for Israel, and for our southern border because we demanded changes in policy. So we actually locked arms together and said, we're not going to give you money for this. We want a change in law. And now it's interesting, a few months later, when we're finally getting to the end, they're like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't want a change in law because it's a presidential election year. We all have an oath to the Constitution, and we have a commitment to say we're going to do whatever we can to be able to secure the border.
Gosh, that's really being missed nowadays or anymore in American politics, is that the oath to the Constitution, the oath to your office, and the oath to do the right thing. If there is a crisis and there is something wrong that needs to be fixed, and again, let's make clear, Lana and I have talked about this before, let's make it perfectly clear. Joe Biden did not take over presidency and then all of a sudden we had a border crisis. This has been going on for decades. So let's not pretend like it just happened now, but he's working with senators and he's doing his job as an elected official to do whatever it is they can to come up with a bipartisan effort to, at the very minimum, address some of the issues at the border. And you have a Fox News host going, well, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. You're giving a guy that we don't want to be president the possibility of being president again. So if there's another terrorist attack, do we just go, let's wait until the, you know, I don't know. What are they saying, Lana?
I don't know. Today, Marjorie Taylor Greene had the nerve to say millions of people are coming through the border, which is not true because where the fuck are they going if there's a million people coming across? But the other piece is, if that is your concern, why aren't you working with Democrats for reform? Once again, why are we just saying we don't like that? Fuck it. Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? We're gonna wait for Donald Trump to become president And if he doesn't, then we still have this crisis, right? Like, so
Correct.
nothing is still getting done. Like, so you'd rather just take a chance, roll the dice because we don't fucking care. Like, it's just so stupid. Greg Abbott is fighting with the government.
Yeah.
One, because he's pissed he can't shoot men, women, and children when they come across. And he's also pissed because they're trying to make him take his fucking deadly ass razor wire down.
First of all, they're and I didn't mean to cut you off, but they're talking about making him take it down because the fucking Supreme Court said you can't have that up.
He's waging war because he can't do what he fucking wants, and he wouldn't even fucking wage war in Uvalde when the fucking Robb Elementary maniac was killing all of those kids. There was no war. He's more excited now than he was about that shit. Like, go figure.
First of all, is it fair to call something a crisis if you now say that it's not something we need to address?
Right. That's the other point, right? How is it a crisis? Why are you pissed at the government and not at the House Republicans who said that they're not going to pass it? You're crying about the border wall, and House Republicans are like, we're not doing anything about it. But you're pissed at the one who's like, can we sign this?
The House Republicans took over when Biden, or 2 years ago, they took over, and it is their job to introduce bills for the border. They haven't introduced anything. They said statistically, this is the worst House of Representatives in the history of the United States. The least productive, and which to me equals the worst. And Greg Abbott, isn't he the guy too that said because he was talking about abortions, and he says, fuck, you don't have to worry about it, because the main thing was about rape. And he said, you don't have to worry about that because we're going to make sure there's no more rapists in Texas. I don't know if that's working. I don't know if he figured out the plan and how to do that.
They're the highest. They are the highest out of the, what are the numbers? Like 500 something thousand rapes across 14 states with 60,000 plus pregnancies coming from that. Texas is the highest rape state.
Right.
Obviously, Greg Abbott is not doing his job because
he hasn't figured out that formula yet.
They forgive rape, forced birth. That's what they're doing. That's where we're at right now.
Well, here's another at least reasonable Republican, not my favorite Republican, but Mitt Romney was also asked about this. This is his response.
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump, and the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and Congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border. And someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, "Hey, save that problem. Don't solve it. Let me take credit for solving it later."
That shit is crazy.
It's insanity. And again, you got these Republicans who have been doing this way longer than Donald Trump, and they're kind of sitting there shaking their heads now like, I just don't believe that this is the kind of shit that I have to go through. I have to sit here and explain to the American public that some loser who continues to lose and has really accomplished nothing in his life on his own. I have to listen to this because not only does he have a group of people who will listen and believe anything he says, but we now have people, elected officials, that are lock and step with everything he says. And it has got to be very frustrating.
As a private citizen, he is not
right.
president.
Right.
So it's even dumbfounding that lawmakers are taking orders from someone who's not a lawmaker. Like, what?
He's a lawbreaker, though.
Right. 91 felony counts, and this dude is pulling the shots, and they are just, it's just really,
Yeah, as I said, we're in a sad state, and I hear people all the time, and they're like, well, it's pretty sad for Joe Biden that he's struggling to beat a guy that has 91 felony counts, as sexual assault, all this stuff.
No.
I mean, again,
Mhm.
this isn't because Joe Biden is really bad. This is because we have a very lazy and very stupid public when it comes to politics. We just do. And they've become lazier and they become dumber. Lana's brought it up a few times. We are now in an age of where TikTok is giving people more political news than I don't even know what real news is anymore, to be honest with you. But I've come to the conclusion that real news is more of the. When I say fake news, I'm talking about the comedy news that you see on TV, because they seem to present it better than anybody else.
Yeah, and because I was thinking that today, because I was just watching, the notifications pop up on my phone, and the minute Corey Bush situation comes up, or the soldiers and the drone strike, they find a way to make it Biden's fault.
Yeah.
And they just say anything. And that shit sticks. It's
Yep.
unbelievable how quick a lie will stick. And you have to tell the truth over and over and over again. And people still may not believe it. It's almost like people love to blame. They need a fall guy that makes them feel good. It's such a strange, it's Biden's fault that the drone, was able to go and strike the what was that? The base? I don't even know what that thing was called.
Yeah.
It's just it's baffling to me. It's his fault, and Gaza is his fault. He's
the
war, and it's just what?
The internet was supposed to, educate more people. I think obviously it's made people dumber, because there is just so much. It's kind of the Steve Bannon playbook. And the Steve Bannon playbook is throw as much shit at the wall as you can and just see what sticks. He doesn't even fucking care, what you say, how they say. And really all this was orchestrated by Newt Gingrich a long, long time ago during the Reagan administration. I read a whole book. I brought this up before. It's called Burning Down the House. And it's basically Newt Gingrich's strategy to use manipulation, to use falsities and falsehoods, even though it's a lot of times he didn't think, but he literally would understand, C-SPAN would televise a lot of things, but back then they would only show the speaker, and he would wait till everybody leaves the chamber. He'd get up there, say stuff, and challenge Democrats, and you wouldn't see any Democrats challenging him. And now you're thinking, well, no Democrats are even challenging what he's saying. It's because nobody was even there. He was doing it by himself, and he knew how to use these little manipulation tactics. And then once Fox News came around, oh my God, that was a wet dream for people like him and Steve Bannon. And this is just, and now you've got the internet and you've got social media, and this is just something that they attack. And it is very, very easy for people even though the show's not on anymore, we're still in a kind of Jerry Springer, Maury Povich kind of, mentality of things. It's what's more entertaining, and that's why I forgive it, because it's entertaining. It doesn't, educational stuff is not fun for me.
That's why they like Trump.
Yep.
They go to Trump's rallies not for policy, it's because he's entertaining.
Correct.
They're taking videos and stuff why? Right? Because he's entertaining. He thinks he's funny. They think he's funny. And that's what he does. He entertains them. The hand movements. He tells stupid jokes. It's just really bad.
And he does it in, he will do the thing that just they eat up, because it's not just saying funny things. It is the Jerry Springer kind of thing, or you remember when you saw those kind of shows, you'd always have the one guy on there and he'd challenge the audience. He'd be challenging everybody and they'd be like, that's who we want to see. That's the guy. Even though I hate that guy, I want to see that guy. And that's
any of it either, but yeah.
And he's just up there saying crazy shit. He's saying shit about the Democrats that nobody's ever said before. They've alluded to it, and they've alluded that Democrats are this and we don't like them and we don't, but he just went full force and became this big Jerry Springer show.
Right.
And that
Right.
became more exciting. And
Yep.
you also, now you probably have too. We're in a world now where we're talking more politics with somebody who couldn't even fucking spell politics 4 years ago, 5 years
Yeah.
ago. Now all of a sudden they're experts on it because they
Right.
watch TikTok and memes.
Right. And that's
Fuck out of here.
That's the other piece too. Okay. I mean, but look at that's kind of how Donald Trump is. Like they are listening to Donald Trump like he really knows foreign affairs.
Right. Knows nothing.
From what? He has no idea what he's talking about. Like this guy is not a genius. He's a fucking idiot and
Yep.
taking dementia tests and bragging that he can remember elephant and umbrella and fucking apple pies.
I love that you said that, Lana, because I have a clip, and it's funny
the
because
segues.
we've played this clip before, but this was at a different location. This is just another location. He was just recently in Nevada, and for some reason, I would have to imagine that even some people in that crowd are going, what are
Gotta
you
be at least
bragging
one.
about?
It's got to be at least a couple, and they're going, I don't get it.
I mean, or at least like, dude, this is not what is the word that people say? This is not the flex you think it is.
Yeah.
This fucking guy?
I said, is it tough? He said, yeah, it's a tough test. The first couple of questions are easy, like they'll have a lion, a giraffe, a whale, and a shark. And they'll say, which one's the lion, okay? And that's all the press covered, the first question. They didn't cover the last question. Multiply 4,733.
First of all,
Wait, what?
that's not on the fucking test. First of all, well, hold on.
Multiply times 7, divide, without paper and pencil, by the way.
Oh
Divide
my-
it by 4, add up another 37 and a half, 0.5. I remember that.
This motherfucker thinks he's Rain Man. First of all, that is not on a dementia test.
He did not just do no, he did. Was the 0.5 the answer?
No, he said that the number divided by was something 0.5. I remember that. And it's
Did
like,
he give an answer afterwards? Like, did he come up with the answer? Like, what the fuck?
he's
Not
trying to convince somebody that just I wish somebody would have went to him
Oh.
after the thing
right.
and did that math and said, hey, what was the answer?
And he never gave the answer, just making shit up.
All right,
Like,
let's let him finish. Let's see. I don't think he does.
does
What's your
that?
number? How many people in this room could do it? Not too many. Or they give you 6 names in a row. I took a lot of heat on this. They give you 6 names in a row at the beginning. Sir,
What heat?
I'm going to give you 6 names. Good. They look at them. A chair, a
1,
hat,
2,
a badge,
3,
a necklace,
4,
and they vote.
5. He said
6
6.
things. We're going to give you 6 things. And I say, good.
One person claps.
Yep.
Can you rename them? So I name them. Then they go back, and if you can do it in order, that's even better. I do them in order. Perfect. Then they come back to you 30 minutes later at the end. Last question. They say, what were those 6 things? That there aren't too many people. And they laughed. Everyone said, oh, that's so easy. There's only about 2% of this room can do it, but I did it.
So basically he's telling them they can't do it. He just said on an
Right.
acuity test where he had to remember shit that there were 6 things, but he only named 5. He couldn't even remember the 6
But
things.
he can't, and he just named them. I bet he can't name them again.
There is no fucking way. And
Name those again, what he just said.
I did it very easily, but I got mocked. They said, oh, that's so easy. It's not easy.
you got mocked.
It's not easy. Go home and try doing it, okay? Go
I love that
home.
he even tells his own supporters that you're not
They're stupid.
you're not smart. He tells them that they're not smart enough.
I can't get over. He said 4,960 whatever divided by 200 and like he literally made that shit. Like he just lied. He just lied, and that lie didn't even coordinate with the other fucking lie.
Correct.
Like you're talking about lions and tigers and bears,
Mhm.
and then you're doing rocket science math. Like what?
But you had some people in the crowd. Yes, you did it, Mr. Trump. I can't imagine being that pathetic. But speaking of being that pathetic, we got to get to the news of the day.
Oh, God.
Lana, are you familiar with a young lady named Taylor Swift?
Let's go, Taylor. I hear they're calling, what are they calling Lauren Bobart? Trailers?
Trailer Swift. I think they also Marjorie Trailer Green. I think she got that too. So there are a lot of seemingly men very upset about what's going on with Taylor Swift and Kansas City Chief tight end Travis Kelce. And there are a lot of conspiracy theories going around that if you have not heard yet, I happen to be a huge professional football fan. I've watched the National Football League my entire life. And there's an event at the end of the year called the Super Bowl that they play. You may have heard of it. And because of the attention that Taylor Swift, who certainly doesn't need any introduction from anybody, and Travis Kelce, who's the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, like I said, just so you know, if you don't know Travis Kelce other than just dating Taylor Swift, he plays a position called the tight end. And the tight end is sort of like a wide receiver, just a bigger guy. He can block, he can catch the ball. He's just usually not as fast as the wide receiver position. He could go down as the greatest tight end in the history of the game. He is that good. He's really, really good. So this isn't a guy that's just some bum and just, and him and Taylor Swift started dating. He is a very famous football player amongst, the NFL. So there's a conspiracy theory that this was put together by Democrats somehow, because Travis Kelce, I've never heard him talk about his politics, but he has done commercials for Bud Light, which, Bud Light probably said, hey, we need a manly guy on here because we have a lot of pussies in our country that won't drink our product anymore because we let one trans person advertise it on her channel. It wasn't even a national advertisement, but now we've got people shooting up our beer cans like crazy nuts. So could you be the masculine dude that comes on our commercials? Same thing. Pfizer asked him to do a commercial so he can let guys know, hey,
it's okay,
this is not scary.
Vaccine,
You'll be okay. Take it easy.
And get your flu shot at the same time because he did that.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So a lot of people assume he's a liberal. He does seem to, have some liberal views, but I've never heard him be political. But the conspiracy is that them two are only together so the NFL can fix it to where the Chiefs somehow make the Super Bowl. And this is one theory I heard, that at halftime, Taylor Swift's going to come down and endorse Joe Biden. Now, you talking about we were making fun of the Jerry Springer thing. This is so beyond the scale and off the page from Jerry Springer that now I'm really getting concerned about the mental health of this country, because this is not coming from QAnon. This is not coming from some mystery guy. This is not coming from some kooky nuts on YouTube. These are people who are on national broadcast.
But they say it because they know how stupid Trump supporters are. Like, they just say anything. They don't believe that shit. They just know that they went in the back, they made us some shit that they can give to these people to hype them up and get them upset about something. Like, it's just so stupid. They're fucking like lapdogs.
That's I call them flying monkeys. They remind me of the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch's flying monkeys who just did whatever the Wicked Witch said. This is Jesse Waters on his primetime, highly viewed show on Fox News. It's a news. This is supposed to be a news channel,
News,
but
right.
this is a primetime show on, again, a news channel. Says, I like her music. She's all right. But I mean, have you ever wondered why or how she blew up like this? First of all, it's my understanding Taylor Swift's first hit was when she was 15 years old, and that was 18 years ago.
Been around for a while, right?
I've known and heard about Taylor Swift and the power that she's had with a
Right.
younger audience and even an older audience
Right.
for some time now. But apparently, according to Jesse Waters, she's just starting to blow up. So if you're wondering why, well, around 4 years ago, the Pentagon Psychological Operations Unit floated turning Taylor Swift into an asset during a NATO meeting. What kind of asset? A psyop for combating online information. So that's his, I don't know if that's true or not. I would imagine a news channel that had to pay out $787 million for lying might want to be careful about what they say, especially against probably the most powerful woman in the world at this point.
Yeah.
But let's say whatever that is there's some little bit of truth to it that the Pentagon got together with her and said, hey, we want to combat misinformation and we want your help. Maybe that's possible. I don't know. But they're trying to use this to allude to some sort of huge conspiracy with the government and that Taylor Swift's so powerful. She, before Jesse Waters said this, my understanding that she asked people to register to vote. And when she asked people to vote, there were record-breaking numbers of people who registered to vote. She didn't tell anybody who to vote for. She just said, register to vote.
Right.
And now it's turned into a conspiracy that she's working with the government, that she's going to endorse Biden at halftime of the Super Bowl, and that somehow the NFL planned and plotted the Kansas City Chiefs. And for anybody who's not a football fan, let me explain to you about the Kansas City Chiefs. Very quickly, the National Football League consists of two conferences, the AFC and the NFC, American Football Conference, National Football Conference. The winner of those two play in the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs this is their fourth time in 6 years going to the Super Bowl. They've won the American Football Conference 4 times out of the last 6 years. And the Kansas City Chiefs has played in that game 6 years in a row. So Kansas City as a football team already had been very, very successful.
Kicking ass, right?
So it's not shocking that they are in the Super Bowl because they might have possibly the greatest quarterback
Not a conspiracy.
ever. Huh?
It's not a conspiracy that they're there. Like it's
Lana,
not.
we know this. And this is just so fucking insane. I mean, it is absolutely insane. I'm going to play 2 clips of this Greg Kelly character. He is on a channel called Newsmax. And since we're talking Taylor Swift, we'll play his Taylor Swift theory first. This is him on, again, what is a national news channel that you can get if you have some sort of cable. This is him on the whole Taylor Swift thing.
Talking about Taylor Swift. I like Taylor Swift. I like the song called Style. I like the song where she's complaining about her boyfriend who lied to her. I like the song where she...
This is going to be his attempts at ribbing her and making horrible jokes. But again, this is supposed to be a newscaster. He's not on the Daily Show. He's not on a Comedy Central show, but he's gonna do his little comedic bit here.
Complains about the boyfriend who dumped her. I like the song about the girlfriend who let her down on the big night. She was expecting all the support at the party. I kind of have a problem, though, with the hardcore Taylor Swift fans. They are totally over the top, worshiping this woman. Have you seen any of the pictures of her in concert? I wouldn't go myself. I don't do that kind of thing anymore. But I think what they call it is...
What's that?
I just said worshiping. Have you seen Trump supporters? Trump wish he could get that crowd.
It's funny you say that because the next clip will blow your fucking mind.
They're elevating her to an idol, idolatry. This is a little bit what idolatry I think, looks like, and you're not supposed to do that. In fact, if you look it up in the Bible, it's a sin. So I don't like that. And I'm also...
So idolizing people is a sin. And basically, Taylor Swift's fans are getting to a point where it is a blasphemy. And it's to a point that is concerning, and that they will do whatever they tell her. Now, Lana, I don't know if you've seen this. The same Greg Kelly, you got to see this. Do you recall last week when Donald Trump mixed up Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi?
Mm-hmm.
Watch this. It's a 3-minute clip, but I'm not playing the whole 3 minutes. I'm just going to get through the. Watch this.
We're about to see the fake news version of the worst flub in the world. Now, they know it's not the worst flub. It's not the worst gaffe. But they say Trump made it, so it must be really, really bad. I don't
Same guy talking about idolizing people.
think it is that bad, and actually might even be great, as in it's not a gaffe. Might have been exactly what he wanted to say when he seemed to say Nikki Haley when he meant Nancy Pelosi. Take a look.
By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley.
1,
Nikki Haley.
2,
Nikki Haley.
3.
You know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it. All of it. Because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley
4.
is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that.
All right, let's pretend for a moment, now I don't think this is the case, that he made a genuine mistake here, that this was a gaffe.
4 times.
Tired or whatever, sure, right? Campaigning, having to defend himself in crazy trials all over the place.
Oh my
And
God.
but let's look at the names for a second. Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley. All right,
Look at
they
this
both
one.
start with N's. They both end in vowels, both the first name and the last name. The names arguably are rather similar, okay?
What is
But
happening?
I think he actually meant to say Nikki Haley. He said it on purpose, and the fake news fell for it.
Okay, I'm not watching that anymore. I mean, you get the gist of.
What is he doing with his mouth? Why is he licking shit? Who the fuck is this guy? He's a weirdo. Who is he? He's a weirdo. Why did I have to watch that?
Could you imagine being that disgraceful of a? First of all, there's a word masculinity thrown around a lot. That guy does not deserve, if there is the so-called man card, because when you are that deep in the woods, where you are not only just going to kind of go, and he made a mistake. He is done a complete 180, and he's going to explain to everybody that he did that on purpose, and you and I and everybody else fell for it because we're not smart enough.
One thing I'm happy about is
Mhm.
I'm okay with all of this shit that they're doing. We complain about it, but
Yeah.
keep
Oh, me
doing it,
too.
guys. Love it to see it. I don't care if MSNBC, CNN plays Donald Trump clips every day,
Yeah.
because people need to be reminded of how dangerous and how fucking stupid that idiot is. Like, he needs all of the spotlight to wake fucking people up. So they're like, the fuck is that? I mean, them little clips, you're looking at him like, he doesn't look good. He looks sick. He can't even stand fucking straight. He's sweating all the time like a fucking rabid animal. Like, what the hell is going on? So keep attacking Taylor. We need the white suburban women anyway.
No question about it. And I agree with you. I think these people were already playing on the cliff. Now they're drinking and getting fucking drunk as fuck on the cliff.
Yeah.
And they're going to eventually fall off at some point, because some people are even going to go now. I mean, obviously, let's say you have 100% of MAGA. If you take 10% of them and they go, God damn, this is getting like really crazy now.
Exactly. Or they like Taylor Swift, or their kids are getting tickets to Taylor Swift. And now you're like, oh, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you're the devil or you're sinning.
Well, here's another Fox News idiot talking about, this is her theory on the Taylor Swift thing. I can't even I got 2 clips where 2 women are talking about the Taylor Swift thing. They're both batshit crazy. I can't even remember what they said. So this is going to be fun for me too.
Had enough of Taylor Swift for now, but here's the facts.
Who's we?
Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, and now there's an online plea circulating that is begging people to become Niners fans for the next 2 weeks, just so it doesn't raise Travis Kelce, aka Mr. Pfizer's star power, along with, of course, Taylor Swift, because
that's supposed to be some, you're supposed to, bad thing that Travis Kelce is named Mr. Pfizer, and he got that nickname from that other idiot, Aaron Rodgers, who goes on that Pat McAfee show and wanted to challenge Travis Kelce to a debate about the vaccine because he's on a vaccine commercial. I mean, this is getting so fucking dumb. So many people are talking in an arena that they shouldn't be talking in. It is just so incredibly stupid.
But it looks stupid. People. Like they are the fucking laughing stock of the world. Like seriously, they're on local TV and people are like, so Republicans hate Taylor Swift now. Like what? What's wrong with y'all?
Yeah. All right. Let's finish up in here with this idiot.
Triggered.
It is so scary. There was a recent poll. 1/5 of Taylor Swift fans said they would back whichever candidate that she endorsed. You know, let's be honest, a lot of her fan base are 15-year-old girls.
It'd be more than 1/5.
Anyways. A lot of the others are already liberal women who would support the DNC no matter what. But there's a lot of other people who need to be careful because she doesn't do what she says. Like, for example, yesterday, she flew private from New York City to Baltimore. Yet she constantly talks about climate change. So just please don't believe everything Taylor Swift says. We're all begging you.
Yeah. Okay.
What does that have to do with, what does flying private have to do with climate change? Is a private airplane different than a regular airplane?
No, but that's their ruse. That's how they get liberals who always say, you know, you care so much about the climate, then why are you always flying on private jets and why are you doing this? But you know, you have a woman at the end of that clip, ironically on Fox News, begging people not to believe everything somebody says. And you are on a channel, again, that had to pay out $787 million because you literally bold-faced lie. And I want to remind people, they didn't win that money on a judgment. That money came as part of a settlement because Fox News knew that they probably were going to lose a lot more. And they were just like, a lot of shit's going to come out that we don't want people to see. So let's just fucking get rid of this case as quickly as we can. And the Dominion people said, you know, we could take this to trial. We could sit here forever. It may take us forever to get this money. Should we take the 787 right now? 787.5. I remember that just like Donald Trump did in his stupid video. But they said, yeah, let's take the 708. It disappointed a lot of people because they really wanted them to blast Fox News, and it disappointed me. But logistically and you know, if you look at it in reality, they did the right thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. So this other clip. Now, you could take Fox News. We both agree they're crazy, right?
Yeah.
Then you got Newsmax.
Yes.
Batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a channel called OAN, which they're so crazy that even DirecTV said, we're not having them on our fucking thing anymore.
Oh my God.
I don't know who this woman is. She definitely needs deep psychological help, but this is her theory on Taylor Swift.
Pop star celebrity sweetheart joins forces with the top dog.
She's saying it with such passion. She stood up all night. She's like, I can't wait to be able to deliver this on Taylor Swift. I'm so excited.
So much fucking makeup on.
That too. By the way, look at the Kai on there. This is Allison's angle. Massive Super Bowl psyop. Let's hear what Allison has to say. She's very excited about it, whatever it is.
In the NFL, playing for the team that's going to the Super Bowl. I mean, let's be real here. This is bread and circuses on steroids. Major League Sports, in and of itself, is nothing but a psyop. get kids plugged into the cycle of going to public indoctrination camps, playing sports for their school, and going to games. Many end up devoting their entire childhood to competing in various sports, only to be cut from the team, at which point they become brainwashed into supporting professional teams because they know their dreams of becoming a pro athlete will probably never happen. So then they become obsessed.
I would like to say that early on, I knew I was not going to be a professional athlete even before any teams I played on.
I can't even get past that she's like a one eyelash away from looking like Tammy Faye Baker.
Actually,
like,
she does. You are absolutely correct.
And then having her to put a cross on.
Well, that's what these nutballs do. They think this is for that. They think that they are fighting a holy war against, I guess, Democrats.
She literally has on makeup like she's going to the fucking club, and then she throws a cross on and be like, "Oh, but I'm for the evangelicals." Like, that's me. Like,
is that how? Yeah, is that how God intended for her face to look?
And her plumped up lips, and like no one's like body shaming or whatever, but she's got a cross around her neck and she's fucking made up like she's about to like go to a party.
Yeah, you're right. It's not body shaming. It has nothing to do with that. It's hypocritical shaming is what it is. Because again, everything about the Bible and Jesus, God, just like they talk about trans people, that's not what God intended. Well, God didn't intend for your face to look like a fucking clown either.
She looks like she's transitioning.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Okay, well, she needs to transition into sanity, because I don't care how much makeup she puts on. I'd much rather transition into some sort of logic and sanity. But you listen to the end of this fucking nutball.
With some grown man who gets paid millions of dollars every year to throw a ball around while promoting poison death shots and child slave labor through various brand deals and endorsements.
What?
So sad. Imagine being so brainwashed by sports, you actually show up to your team stadium to shovel snow for free so you can watch a bunch of grown men who are overpaid tackle each other.
I gotta admit, I'm that brainwashed. I'd do it.
Seriously, though, trudging through 3 feet of snow amid a massive blizzard just to watch a game? Yeah, sorry, you couldn't pay me to do that.
Nobody's asking.
Just imagine for a moment if people were as dedicated to Jesus as they are professional sports.
There it is.
I think the country might look pretty different if that were the case.
Allison,
but sadly, as we know, it's not. And perhaps that's why we're witnessing the crumbling and degradation of our once great nation. Instead, all we seem to care about are the celebrities and athletes propped up by the Hollywood elites and this ongoing theater, this fake, carefully crafted show that the masses have been hypnotized.
She's literally doing fake. She's literally doing theater.
Like she got fake lips, fake eyelashes. Girl, sit down.
She literally is doing theater, and she's calling out people who are doing theater.
Yo, football
is not theater.
Is like what? It's like Kaepernick never happened at this point. Everyone's watching football. Everyone is that is the big thing right now. What the fuck is she talking about? It's like, you're American and you're attacking football? Like, what is that? It's like, who does that?
We've gotten to a point. Like I said, I mean, they are literally fighting the holy war that they thought that they were born to fight their whole lives. I remember growing up, and I know a lot of religious people, and I know people take their religion very seriously. I have never in my life heard people who are these kind of evangelicals that are now stepping up this over the top, us versus Jesus versus you kind of.
Jesus versus football. Have you ever been in church? I remember being in church, like with my ex. He had to go to church. And Sunday, and the bishop going, I'm going to make this fast, right? Because he knew it was Sunday football. Everyone was trying to get to Sunday football, so he was trying to get us out of there.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? What the fuck?
Actually, if you look around football, like high school football, college football, I've got a very, very, very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. He's a high school football coach in Georgia, and high school coach or high school football especially is very, especially here in the South, is very religious sort of centric. There's a lot of religion tied to high school football. And again, especially in the South. So I think, again, this is a woman who just knew she had a segment coming. She's like, what can I just do to punch people in the face? It's going to sound great. It's going to sound awesome. And I'm sure she got off the air thinking that was the greatest thing that I've ever done. That was so fantastic.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, small YouTube show like ours, and certainly even way bigger shows across the country, are laughing at that just like it should be laughed at.
Oh, she wants Trump's attention. Maybe Trump will see how pretty she is and, like grab her up, or Fox or somebody. So we know what this is about.
Yeah.
What a fool.
Like I said, we now live in a country where I have to sit here and talk to people as to whether or not the NFL is rigged because of Taylor Swift, and did the Democrats have anything to do with it? And it's become mainstream, and it's like, man, people keep talking about this. Well, why does Joe Biden get his message out? He doesn't get his message out because it's fucking flooded with dumb shit like this.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
If these channels didn't exist, and again, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an opposing view, sort of, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But when it's just flat lies and it's just flat nutty, crazy shit, I don't have time. I don't even want to talk to these people anymore. And I would, again, if I'm in these conversations with any of these people, I am dismissing any of this ridiculous bullshit before I even engage in any kind of conversation. I'm just not doing it. It's a waste of my fucking time. I used to say before all this stuff, people like to talk politics, sometimes with me because they know I like talking about it, people I know. And, I'd say, okay, but before we talk any politics, I'd just ask a couple questions. One, do you think Hillary Clinton had people murdered? And if they said yes, that's the end of our conversation. I am not talking to you. I'm not having a conversation with somebody that thinks Hillary Clinton's behind murdering people.
Right. Or even someone who thinks that Joe Biden didn't win an election. Like,
well, there's no point.
Why is it that you think that Donald Trump, if it's not in his favor, it's not right? Like, how can you live like, is that how you teach your kids? If you lost that game, they rigged it? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's so, oh gosh.
You're right. I could not live with myself. I couldn't wake up every day, look myself in the mirror and go, if I just believed anything anybody told me, or if I was a sycophant for a politician. Again, you had these, we talked about the Jerry Springer show. These people were convinced that Joe Biden didn't get enough votes because you didn't see any Joe Biden flags and hats. That's their barometer.
Right.
Because Joe Biden didn't have a bunch of people at his rallies. Well, COVID was going on and Joe Biden was responsible and said, well, I'm not having rallies. That's why you didn't see a bunch of people at my rallies. And if we did have rallies, we had them in the car, and they were sitting in their cars and with their masks on. And
and you know what though, Brian, too, a lot of them know better, and they just lie. And I just thought about like that woman, some tweet that was going around, and they were like, or you've seen them where they said they took the COVID vaccination and now they have the shakes. So then you have a woman just in the hospital bed shaking like crazy. And it's just like, why are you doing this? Lee, you got full eye mascara on and lashes. Who put that on if you're doing all of that shaking? Like, it just doesn't make any damn sense.
Well, on top of it, what doesn't make any sense is, let's say there's a video that you see of somebody uncontrollably shaking. And just because somebody puts a video out but puts words on it and goes, COVID vaccine caused this, people just believe that because somebody made a video, I can make a video, put words on it. And so to believe it just because it's online and you're believing that the COVID vaccine caused that. You've got to be
But
you've
it
got to be
only causes,
ashamed of
it
yourself.
only causes it to MAGAs. You know,
Right. Right.
White MAGA women.
Right.
This issue.
Correct.
What's wrong with y'all?
Right. That's a fascinating thing. I mean, maybe we need to look into that. Why it only happens to Trump voting white women. I don't get it. And boy, the movements they make,
It's unbelievable.
they're doing the full thing. I don't know. Do you ever watch the show? If maybe some people would be able to relate with this. Did you ever watch the show Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Well, there's a character, George Costanza. He was just a bullshitter. He would do anything, say anything. And one time he got caught. Somebody said something. He got caught nudging the person next to him. And because he was like, this guy's full of shit kind of thing. But he got caught. And the guy was like, something wrong with your arm? He's like, oh, yeah, I heard it. So every time he was around this guy, he had to move his arm. So the guy says, I'm going to set you up with a doctor's appointment so you can get that checked out. He went through the whole thing. He went to the doctor's appointment, do everything, just so he could prove his point.
Physical therapy.
Yep, just so he could prove his point that this is real. And finally, the doctor's like, this is nothing. You're an idiot.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's how they are.
Yeah, and I don't even know if those videos are real. I don't know if they have friends that might work in a hospital and say, hey, can I borrow your hospital bed real quick? Or
of course they do, because the woman that I saw didn't even have on hospital
right.
Friggin' bathrobe. Like,
yep. Yeah, she was laying in her bed and then rose like from the dead, almost shaking, and the one leg wasn't shaking until she put it on the floor.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah.
All along she's got on her sexy Walmart lingerie.
Again, I am so happy. I'm happy for me. I am happy for Lana that we don't wake up with the mechanism in our brains that make us this fucking crazy. Like, I mean, crazy that you would. This is so important to you that you would just go out of your way to lie to people and lie to yourself and lie to your family and lie to everybody just to satisfy some very bizarre issues you've got going on in your head.
Yeah. Stick it to the libs. Gotta win.
Cool. Something. Yeah. You got him. You got the libs, but guess what? Now you don't have Social Security. You don't have fucking medical care. You don't have anything, but you got those libs. Good for you, you fucking morons.
Got them libs. You did it.
You did it. Good for you. All right. We're going to try to have some guests on, right? At some point. And
yes, it's funny. I thought about that too.
Yeah. We talked about that. So we're going to, as we go along, we're going to try to get some guests on here and, and talk to some people out there and get their views and their opinions. Because I know Lana and I pretty much know everything, and there's really nothing you can tell us, but we don't mind listening to other people every once in a while.
We'll get that together.
Yeah. And then on Thursday night, we're going to watch the Quest show at 8:00. I'm talking.
I went 2 weeks in a row.
I love that I'm talking to the host of the Quest show and she doesn't know if she's going to be on it. That's awesome.
Play it by ear.
Yeah, I'm talking to the executive producer of the Quest show, and she can't tell me if she's going to be on in 48 fucking hours. That's awesome. Fucking great. Well, again, we've gone over this every week. You know what to do. You sit in front of your computer from 8 to 8:15. And if she comes on, you get to see her. She comes on later and you left before 8:30, 8:45, whatever time she comes on, just go the next day and you can watch the full fucking show.
That's
right there. Yep.
Same here. Like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully when we get off the air or this week, we'll get the answer to the immunity question there. I thought it was coming tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of answers coming up. I mean, I think at some point, well, let's see if we have any breaking news today. I don't see any here.
They must have heard something, because they kept saying today that it was happening any time now. Like, they were thinking that it was coming today. For some reason, it must be almost finished.
Okay. Well,
they must know something.
That's the judge in the New York case said by the end of the month we should have. I think they said by the end of the month, which is tomorrow.
Oh, that one too. Okay.
Yeah, where we should be getting a ruling on not whether or not Donald Trump lost or won the case. He already lost the case.
Right.
We're just trying to figure out how much money he's going to owe. And he badgered because, first of all, they fucked up in that case, or they pretended to fuck up in the case. I'm not sure which one it was, but they said, we didn't get a jury trial. And they said, well, you didn't get a jury trial because you didn't fucking ask for one, you moron.
Check the box.
You didn't check the box.
Check the box.
I mean, we saw Rudy, we saw Sidney Powell, we saw a lot of attorneys come and go, but boy, oh boy, this Alina Habba.
Did he get rid of her yet? Because I know he blamed her, but she's cute. So did he keep
Well,
her?
he soft landed her on one of his tweets and said, Alana may have lost the case, but, and kind of gave her this, she's not experienced this time, maybe next time, sort of thing. So, of course, in his still way, throws her under the bus.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
And I don't know what's going on in that relationship. I don't care. Something funky's going on there. Something.
I mean, I really don't know because I don't see Donald Trump as anyone that can do much of anything these days. I don't even understand.
Maybe she would just, send him some pictures and that will satisfy whatever.
No,
I don't know.
Definitely that kind of thing. Because I mean, she's going places with him now,
and she's just like way too into this, like over the top with her language, and maybe it's just the money. Maybe she's just like, hey, you know what? He's actually paying me because I'm cute.
True.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
I bet she can't get a boyfriend. I bet.
I mean, look, she's attractive. There's no question about it. But you gotta be some special kind of crazy.
Yeah, no. Well, she is.
yeah, she is. So, hopefully we'll be getting that news soon, and just more bad news for Donald Trump. I don't care what anybody says. It makes me smile. Makes me happy. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh at the people who get mad about it. And that makes me happy. That at the end of the day, laughing at MAGA people who are batshit crazy and don't understand how things work and don't understand how they're fucking themselves over. I'm not really sure why they do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
but it makes me laugh, and I like laughing at them.
Me too. And I think it's going to be a big election year. I good for Taylor Swift. I wasn't a huge fan before, but she's doing some good stuff, and she's genuine. She's genuine about it, right? Like really genuine, and good for her. Her and LeBron, they need to team up and do what they do and get people registered in.
Listen, Taylor Swift's not my kind of music. I don't say I hate her, but I will say she's about as talented as they come. She seems to me like to be as good of a person as you could possibly be. And I'm saying that just based on every report I hear, she goes out of her way to tip people.
The video of her, I don't know if she was backstage. Don't kill me if I'm saying it wrong. She was either backstage at her house or what other things is. She lives in Tennessee, and she's very upset about one of the lawmakers there, and she was literally crying about wanting to go on stage on the next show and tell people to vote against whoever was running against this Republican person, and her family's like, you don't, especially her dad was like, you don't want to
I saw it.
Yeah, right. So that was like, she's genuine.
She is.
This is very genuine.
And by the way, that clip was from that was, I think, the first election, or I think even before. So that was from years ago.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
So
and she's very serious. And she's from Tennessee too. And she called out Marsha Blackburn. She called out, so she is political, and that's why these people too acting like they're like, you don't want to go. I've heard people saying she's a megastar. You don't want to go out there and let half of your fans know that you're not a Trump supporter. And I said,
she does.
I think they pretty much know this already.
Yeah, she'll
they
be
watch
fine.
Everything she says and does. They watch every documentary. They watch everything.
Yeah,
probably more than once.
Republicans are afraid. You can tell when they're afraid. That she has got them on their heels, and rightfully so. Good.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, So yeah, we got some news coming up. So I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that next week. And I'm sure there's going to be 100 other things that we could talk about. But last thing.
And Snoop too. But
I saw that today. What the fuck happened there?
I don't know because I do have an idea, and I don't know if my idea is right. But
what's the idea?
My thought is that I was watching whatever mindless TV. I don't know, Netflix or somewhere. He has a show on something
on Prime. And by the way, do we want to just say that today I saw something where they were asking Snoop about Trump, and he says, "I have nothing but love and respect for Donald Trump," which I don't know if that means it's an endorsement. I don't know if there's anything more than that, but just that sentence alone is very, very disappointing. Because,
right.
Yeah. Right. So you were saying there's a movie, I think on Prime called Underdogs.
Yeah. So I have an idea, just how Hollywood works. His agent saying, chill with the Trump is a bitch or whatever else
because he was really dogging out Donald Trump.
Right. Because when you have a show out or something, you do not want to separate or stop certain fans from coming from watching your show. I would imagine you want everyone. I mean, Kevin Hart, you would never know what his politics are.
Right.
He doesn't talk about it.
Right.
Because he wants to continue to make the money from everybody. He doesn't want to box anybody out. He wants the magazines. But quietly, he gives back to the community. He registers people to vote. He works with LeBron. Quietly, he does that.
Yeah.
But he's not outwardly talking about Trump is this, Trump is that, because he doesn't want the MAGAs on his time. You know what I mean? He don't want that kind of thing. So I kind of think that Snoop's agents may have said, you have this show out right now.
Yeah.
Just shut up about it. And
I hope so. But I mean, did he have to go out of his way to sort of give Trump an endorsement? Because that gives people, I think, the wrong idea as well. But I mean, I'm not saying it's swinging the election or anything like that, but I just, I don't know. It's disappointing because I love Snoop. I'm a big Snoop fan. I love him.
It made me pump my brakes too. I'm like, y'all are so disappointed. I just kept thinking, like, why are y'all so disappointing? Like,
and
y'all are just disappointing.
Snoop is a lot like Eminem. They're both very similar in the fact that I don't give a fuck if you don't want. And Eminem literally came out and said, "Don't buy my fucking records." But I do not like Donald Trump. I hate
know why Snoop would ever do that. That was very. And people talked about it. People are not okay because now he's being lumped with Ice Cube. Like, okay,
right,
stupid. Go ahead. Like,
yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything more that said than just that, but I was very disappointed. In fact, I saw it on Twitter today, and I was like, no. That was from years ago, and then I literally looked it up. I was like, fuck, he just said that.
Yeah. Like, how did you just say that when you were calling him a bitch? Like, what changed? He got better?
Yeah.
How is he better?
Yeah. I don't think you and Trump got together for a cup of coffee and discussed your, the future for the politics of the United States. But
you know what? It's the bullshit. It's the Charlemagne the gods. It's the black men. Got work to do, but they got work to do with black men. They really do. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but
gosh, I think the only one of the strategies that I'd use with maybe Charlemagne and those guys that my brother listens to Charlemagne, and he told me, he's like, Charlemagne's not like a political person, but he has opinions, and he has, he likes discussing them, but, I don't think he even would say he's a political expert, but he just likes diving into different subjects, and he'll have those kind of people on, and, like different politicians. He had Vivek Ramaswamy, that kind of stuff. And he would,
it's controversy. It's
controversy. Yes. And it's for, you get people watching, you get controversy and stuff like that. But what I would ask them is say, look, if you're trying to do a comparison thing, the only thing I'd ask you to do, because I know, for you, it's important that the Black community is represented, and it's important for the Black community to understand how important this may be and everything. If you want to just look at the differences between the people who are being elected into each body, between the Republicans and the Democrats, look at the Democratic side, look at the Republican side, and you tell me, just because maybe you don't like Joe Biden. Tell me which side is more represented, for you than the other side. So why would we even try to do this, kind of like, and I've said this before, I don't mind people talking about, the bad things about one side and the other, but right now this is a different ball game. And I'm not using the words life or death as in literal life or death, but for some people it might be.
But it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
Because women are dying and they will die. It's your daughters, it's your kids, and Black women and Black girls will be impacted disproportionately.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no question about it. So I mean, when you see the representation from both sides just alone, shouldn't that tell you that, maybe you have representatives who will fight for you, and maybe we can't get everything done now, but if we keep these representatives in and we continue to progress and we continue to get little things here and chip away, because it's not going to happen overnight. Anybody who's followed politics understands none of this happens overnight. Just doesn't. But I don't know. You're right. I was a little disappointed in that, but I was going to say the good news for me, at least, and anybody else that might, I heard and I saw this thing come across my phone. I almost jumped. Jon Stewart is coming back to The Daily Show.
Yeah.
Which is possibly the greatest thing that could possibly happen for this election this year.
Right on time.
Right on time. Now, he'll only be there on Monday nights. He's not doing it every night, but I don't care. He's the executive producer of the show, and he's going to be every Monday night, I guess, similar to what Rachel Maddow does every Monday night on MSNBC.
What happens when you get to be the boss?
That's exactly right. But Jon Stewart's voice alone, to me, in the political circle, is just as important as any other voice out there. Biden's, Gavin Newsom's, Kamala Harris, everybody. And maybe people would disagree with me. I truly believe his voice is that important.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, maybe we could have a Gavin Newsom, Jon Stewart.
Come on now.
President and vice president.
I mean, it's funny because they were showing The Daily Show listed something that said, Jon Stewart's coming back to The Daily Show, and it listed like 4 facts about Jon Stewart, but they were all funny facts, except for the last one, which I didn't laugh at. It said the final one was, and Jon Stewart's never going to become president. Stop saying that. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to hear that.
Maybe he can work for the Department of Veterans Affairs or something.
Right. Yeah. So, but that to me that put a big smile on my face. He will be starting February 12th. Nice. The day after the Super Bowl, actually. So I'm very excited about that. So, Lana, do you have anything to add to finish with?
I think we touched on everything.
I think we did too. So we'll have a lot more to touch on again next Tuesday on Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. That will be Tuesday night at 8:00 live here on YouTube. If you can't catch us on YouTube, please subscribe, do all that dumb shit. And then, or that smart shit, and then watch the videos later, watch the clips later, do whatever you can. We would really appreciate it.
I did some clips last week too of my show.
I saw that. Yes. Lana's clipping up her show now too.
Yeah, because normally I do this, the video grab on my phone and just do it real quick while I'm at work.
Yeah.
But I sat down and did it inside of the platform.
I was watching your show live last week, by the way. I was just on the down low. I didn't make any comments last week.
Oh, thanks.
I was watching though. So
like background noise, like, God, that girl sure can talk.
And I hope to be watching again this week. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm going to stay right in front of this laptop until Thursday night.
You don't owe me a view, Brian. It's okay.
Oh, I don't do it because I feel I owe you anything. I do. I was watching your show before we started this show, so don't start with that shit. I watch it anyway. How dare you?
Oh, we have someone's in the thing. I don't know.
Oh, that's my brother.
Your
my brother.
He's like,
yeah. He wanted me to bring up.
Joy. Oh, what? Oh, yeah. What
did you see that?
I saw that she was on a hot mic.
Yeah, and
how did she explain it?
Well, I don't know, but I know she came out with an apology later. But I will say again, that's a little disappointing to me as well, because we've talked about this before. And I would think that Joy Reid would probably fancy herself as more of a progressive.
Right.
I watch a couple of programs on YouTube that are progressive shows like Sam Cedar, and it is just like every day it's like some kind of Biden bashing, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Now I know Joy Reid didn't necessarily do that on purpose. I mean, obviously she didn't do it on purpose,
Right.
but
Why would she
now
say
her
it?
thoughts are out there, and now this thing. And again, I love the idea of becoming a more progressive country, but boy, oh boy, the progressives are kind of getting on my nerves.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Because why would you say that? Why would she say that? Weren't they all upset because he pulled troops out of like Afghanistan?
And what is she talking about? Another war? What war did Joe Biden start?
I don't. That's what I'm so confused about. Like, people are calling her a warmonger. I'm like, how? It's like, how? He bends over backwards to not start war. It's like they wanted him to say he was going to war today about the drone. It's like, everyone's like, no, that's not how we do things. Like, what?
Yeah. Well,
down.
I am sick. I am done with the Biden bashing. Done. I'm fucking done with it. Because first of all, what are we bashing him for? That he's old? Is that it? Is that what it's bashing?
Definitely old, and he looks like a skeleton. We can bash him there. He does really look old, but
yeah, but can somebody
other than
give me
that,
something other than that these TikTok, like you said, we've used this term, the TikTok politicians now all of a sudden, who are so interested in Israel and Palestine. There's genocide all over the world. And I've never heard the TikTok people and the progressives blaming a president as much as they are only because this one just happened to make the news. But there's other stuff that doesn't make the news that they never mentioned one word about. And now all of a sudden, I'm listening to this 18-year-old kid. He said he was 18, call into the Sam Cedar show. He's like, I'm 18 and, it's my first year voting and I don't know if I could vote for Biden. It's like I'm between a rock and a hard place. And I'm like, you fucking moron. I appreciate that you want to get involved in voting, and I appreciate that you're calling to get some guidance. And he's even asking, what's the rock? What's the hard place? He's like, well, the way Biden's handling Palestine. I'm like, dude, come on, man.
This is what drives me fucking crazy. I get what's happening over there, but there's some shit happening over here too.
Right.
Like, put your focus back over here.
Yeah.
Because women are being forced to carry fucking dead babies.
Correct.
The last summer, a 10-year-old was arrested for peeing outside and prosecuted.
Yeah.
So if you don't think that we have problems here in America where a 10-year-old is arrested by 4 police officers and put in the back of a police cruiser, this is how we want fucking America? Like, stop playing right now. Get your head out your ass.
Right. Exactly.
Get together. Like, what the fuck?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's
Jesus.
And that's not to say nobody is saying that what's going on over there isn't awful. But again, there are things that are just as heinous, maybe even more heinous, happening in other places around the world. And you're not. Why not get involved in that one too?
Exactly.
Why not figure out whoever the president is at that particular time? Why are they not addressing what's going on in some
having problems? The fuck.
Yeah.
They're having problems.
Exactly. So it's just like, it gets so frustrating to me to hear just people. And again, I've said this before. This is an election that's not the same. Right now is not the time to be beating up on Biden and the Democrats, which again, explain to me why we're beating up on Biden. What exactly is it that he's doing so awful? And I said, too, let's say Biden switches his position and just does everything for Palestine now. So now you're telling me there aren't going to be people pissed at him for doing the other thing? I mean, it's just like
that situation is just there's no win there.
Right.
It's like, it's just nothing.
God, and to pretend like there is like something that this guy could just wave a magic wand. I mean, with
that too.
a little bit more if he just came out every day and just talked like he's on Jerry Springer about fucking Palestine and Israel.
Right. And then again, there's like a decorum that he has to, there's certain things he can't even say out loud. Like the conversations that he's having with Netanyahu, he can't tell us what it is. Just like they're pressing about what our strike is going to be, how are we going to counter? How are we going to get them back for the drone attack? Our military's dead, which is awful. But what are we just going to announce it? Like, we're just going to tell you like exactly what we're going to do? You think it's going to be
no sense. And again, I am so tired of these over the top opinions. And yeah, I know I've got some over the top opinions myself, but my opinions aren't driving, and first of all, my over the top opinions are all fucking right. So let's just start there.
That is true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. So, but I am, tired of this Biden bashing, and we're not understanding that we are right now in the year of, we said this before, but this truly is the most important election that we will probably ever have by far. It's not even close. This one is, well, the last one was, and now this one is.
All right, because we have added things on this one, right? Women are having their rights taken away. Like we've seen some awful things. We've seen,
and there's more things going to be taken away. Your Social Security, they keep. If you don't think they're going to take away Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, they're not replacing the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, with anything that would satisfy you. Nothing, absolutely nothing. They will get in office. You're going to have a wannabe authoritarian dictator in the office. You're going to have a guy who's going to do everything he can to make billionaires, trillionaires, and that's it. That's his. That's it.
Fire the federal workers, like they've already said that. And he's going to put things in place where he doesn't have to go through Congress to get things approved.
He's talking about leaving NATO for fuck's sake. I mean, I don't think you really understand what that means.
They don't, because you know what? They're like, well, with Trump, there'd be no war. Like we wouldn't have a problem with Russia. Like because he's going to get in bed with like other dictators. How's that going to work out for us in the long run? Like,
it's unbelievable. Now, if Jesse Waters or one of these morons, Tucker Carlson, got in and said, we should leave NATO and then we can team up with China and Russia and be the most powerful, people be like, yeah, that's awesome. We should do that. And they don't
want. That's what Trump wants.
Yeah. Believe me, first of all, China and Russia do not want anything with teaming up with the United States. They fucking hate the United States.
Hilarious.
God, people are so dumb.
Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. All right. Well, we definitely went over today.
Listen, there is no going over. We go, we start when we want. Well, I will say here, we start dead on at 8:00. I mean, the 30-second
that's true.
30-second clock tells us it is exactly the time to go live.
You're good.
But ending, this is like a fucking club. We shut down the lights in the bar whenever we're ready.
Oh my God, I gotta take my son to work in like 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well,
I know.
You go do your thing, and we will be back again next Tuesday night. Lana, you're the best.
See you later.
Good night.
Be safe. Good night.